Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange and the host who might be the Lord of Hell. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today I want to talk about another graphic novel comic, part of a series that I've been talking about. One that is about dreams, sleeping, the ownership of hell and angels. I will be talking about Season of Mist by Neil Gaiman, with art by Kelly Jones, Malcolm Jones III, Mike Dringenberg, Matt Wagner, Dick Giordano, George Pratt, P. Craig Russell, a foreword by Harlan Ellison, which is impressive, and introduced by Patton Oswalt, which is even more impressive because he hasn't been accused of preying on his female colleagues. So, I talked about Neil Gaiman before, how he was an impressive author who was held back by a couple things, like his desire to, not his desire, but tendency towards violence towards women in his work, and also expecting everyone to be on the same level of him, which is apparently Oxford level PhD. Which he isn't, but like he writes like it, and it makes a lot of his work inaccessible to those of us who are dumb, or who don't have a PhD in religious studies. So but it's still pretty good, and I didn't find as much of that here, which I like. This is actually a really good volume. It might be the best volume, although it's really hard to beat the third volume of the Sandman, which was a collection of really good short stories. This is good, and volume 3 was good. The story so far: Sandman escapes from prison, enacts vengeance upon his captors, and then goes about setting up his kingdom, getting all of his equipment back, and getting his house in order. And now he has, he's trying to right the wrongs of his past in this volume. So what exactly happens? Well, let's talk about it. I will do some summary, some analysis, and we will move on from there. Season of Mist, Volume 4, starts with the character Destiny. Destiny is one of the Endless, a sibling of Dream, King Morpheus, as well as Death. And he calls all of his siblings to a dinner party, a dinner essentially, where they are going to talk about something important. However, before Destiny can talk about it, the siblings start fighting amongst each other, and Desire calls Dream out and is just like, "Oh, have you imprisoned any more of your lovers lately, brother?" And she brings up Nada, who was mentioned in the second volume. She had a relationship with Dream, but she recognized that it was against nature for a mortal to be with one of the Endless, and so she killed herself. Dream followed her into the afterlife, where he asked for her to be together with her, but she rejected him. And it's revealed at this dinner that he banished her to hell as a result of her rejection, which is pretty extreme. He leaves the dinner, and he's talking with his other sister, Death, and he's like, "Did I react too harshly when I banished her to death?" Which the answer is yes, and Death rightly acknowledges yes, it was a bit extreme. And so Dream sets about righting this wrong. He vows to go to hell and free Nada, as he's going to atone for that mistake. Dream sends a messenger to Lucifer. Lucifer is very excited about Dream coming forth and showing his face again. In the first volume, Lucifer was kind of upset because Dream outsmarted him, and he vowed that if Dream returned, he'd probably kill him or something similar to that. And so Dream takes care of last minute errands before he believes that he'll probably die. He visits Hippolyta, who was in the second volume. She was pregnant with a child in the dream realm, and so Dream laid claim to that child. And the child has been born at this point, and Hippolyta tells Dream to go away, but before he does, he decides that the child's name is Daniel. Which is interesting. And then he goes and visits Robert Gadling, who again was from the second volume, an old friend of Dream's who is immortal. Dream presents him with a bottle of rare wine in one of his dreams, which is a nice moment between friends. So Dream finally shows up in hell, as one does, and tries to find Nada. However, he quickly discovers that Nada is not in her jail cell, and many of the demons are not there anymore. So Dream confronts Lucifer, and Lucifer says that he has freed all the demons from hell, all the damned from hell, and Lucifer quits. Like, he's done being the king of hell. He just hands the keys to Dream and says, hell is your responsibility now. You are in charge of a locked and abandoned, or a locked and empty hell. Do with it what you wish. And then Lucifer goes on his way to do whatever it is that fallen angels do during their retirement. Some other minor deities and concerned parties learn about the news that hell has been left open and left up for grabs, and so a bunch of those parties conspire to take over hell, including Loki and Odin, as well as Thor from Norse mythology. So that is what they're planning to do. There are also multiple other claimants from Japanese mythology. The fairy realm, they would prefer if hell stayed locked for some unspecified reason, and a number of other people who are plan to confront Dream about this. Dream is unsure of what to do at this point. He knows that he doesn't want the responsibility of controlling hell, and so he decides that he's gonna give it to somebody else. And these claimants, the people who want hell for themselves, show up to Dream's realm, and he invites them inside to persuade their case to him. A lot of them either threaten him in some way, try to get him to see reason, or they try to bribe him. The demons who used to live in hell and are now in limbo tell Dream that they have Nada, and they are willing to give Nada to him in exchange for the key to hell. And Dream tells them they will take it under consideration, and they threaten that they will eat Nada's soul if Dream does not give them hell. There's also a sub-story at this point about Charles Roland, who is a young boy at a private school. The private school slowly becomes overfilled with the dead and the damned who previously died at the school in some unfortunate way, and a lot of those are just trash human beings, and they decide to bully Charles Roland. This ultimately results in his death, and the figure of death comes up, and she offers Charles an opportunity to go into the afterlife. However, he decides to stay on Earth as a ghost, apparently, with another dead boy, and they roam the land, presumably for eternity. Meanwhile, two angel observers have shown up at Dream's little party thing that he has going on, and they initially are there to observe. However, Dream approaches them and asks them what they want, and ultimately one of the angels reveals that God has ordered them to take the keys of hell and rule over the hell. They are Remiel and Duma. And Duma is reluctant to do it at first just because, it's hell, but they're ultimately loyal to God, so they decide to do it. And Remiel is opposed to it because they have been loyal to God their entire life, and the last person to do it was a fallen angel who disrespected God, and they view this as a punishment. But they ultimately decide not to leave Duma hanging, and they decide that they will rule over hell and try to change it for the better and make it a sort of under heaven's rule as well. So it's an extension of heaven. The demons are very unhappy that Dream has not given them the key to hell, and so they pledge to eat Nada's soul again. And they challenge Dream to a fight, thus releasing their protection in the Dream realm, which is a mistake because Dream is super powerful and manages to defeat them, freeing Nada essentially. And then everyone else leaves. They're a little disappointed, but they understand Dream's decision ultimately. Dream then has a one-on-one with Nada where he apologizes very poorly, and Nada is upset, and she forces him to give a real apology where he acknowledges the wrong that he did, and Nada is a bit more satisfied. He gives her a choice of how she wants to proceed with her life, and she ultimately chooses that she wants to be reborn, and she is reborn in a baby's body in Hong Kong, and Dream tells her that she's always welcome in the dream world. So a bit of a happy note for her there. And then the story kind of ends with Lucifer on a beach in Australia, reflecting on how God may be, a terrible person, but he sure makes a mean sunset. And so, kind of enjoying his retirement there. In terms of analysis, there are a couple things I want to talk about. The first is the theme of the burden of responsibility. Multiple characters in this graphic novel have some sort of responsibility that they're either trying to shirk or keep as much as they can. Lucifer, his responsibility is hell. As a fallen angel, he resides over the kingdom of the damned, and so his responsibility is to rule over that and squash any demon rebellions that pop up. And for the most part, Lucifer does that for thousands of years. However, eventually it becomes too much for Lucifer, and he's just tired of constantly putting down demon rebellions and putting up with all the damned. It's too much for him. And so the responsibility, he decides he doesn't want anymore, and he shifts it off to somebody else. In this case, it's Dream. And then Dream has multiple responsibilities as well. His one of his responsibilities, of course, is now hell, and he doesn't even want to rule over it for a tiny part of time. He barely has his own kingdom in order, as he's still repairing it after being gone for so many years. And so, Dream's response is to immediately thrust it upon someone else, Duma and Remiel, in this case the angels. Another responsibility of Dream's is to that of Nada. Condemning her to hell thousands of years ago was a bit extreme, and he recognizes that. So now it's his responsibility to save Nada in any way possible and get her out of hell. And he goes to hell, a place where he knows he's not welcome, to do that. And then when she's not there, he ultimately confronts the demons that have her, and he rescues her. So in some ways, Dream doesn't want to take on his responsibilities, but in other ways he acknowledges that he has done wrong in the past, and he's trying to atone it by taking up the responsibility of Nada's protection and ultimate safety. And then you have the angels Remiel and Duma. They both react differently to being given the responsibility of hell. Duma is reluctant, but is choosing to take on this responsibility out of loyalty to God. And Remiel is very upset about this and kind of wants to turn their back on God, but they also don't want Duma to rule over hell by themselves, and so they ultimately decide to work with Duma in sort of reforming hell. So it's not the best of intentions or the most noblest of taking on this responsibility for the angels, but they still do it for different reasons than Dream or Lucifer would. So you have different ways of them approaching responsibilities and different ways of them shirking those responsibilities, which I like how Gaiman addresses there. Another thing I really like about the story is the confrontation between Morpheus and Nada. Nada is appropriately angry for being condemned to hell for thousands of years. All she did was reject someone, which isn't enough to be, hurt. Everyone gets rejected and they have to learn to live with rejection. However, Dream reacted wildly inappropriately by condemning this woman to hell. She told him that they couldn't be together, that it was against nature, and he couldn't accept that. And when he's confronted by this years later, he's kind of upset by his siblings when they confront him, and he's even more upset when Nada confronts him, because he ultimately accepts that it hurt his pride, but that doesn't mean it was okay for him to condemn her to hell. And he initially gives a terrible apology to her, which she calls him out on, and I really like that because it shows how fallible and how much work Dream needs to do before he becomes a better person. He may be a god and he may be supremely powerful, but he's still capable of making mistakes, and that's what I like about Dream. You see the progress of his character as he goes from his imprisonment to whatever his endpoint is, and the development you see along the way. I really like that here, specifically the confrontation, because it's very emotional. Nada has been locked away for years, and here's this immortal being telling her that I'm sorry, I guess, and it's not good enough for her. And I really like that Gaiman is willing to show that Dream is flawed when so many other comics would try to paint him as a endless do-gooder or something like that. I also like how this graphic novel subverts expectations. Gaiman has been doing that throughout the Sandman series, but it especially happens here. It happens when Dream goes to hell, and you're expecting this big fight between Dream and the other demons, but ultimately you don't get that. Lucifer just hands Dream the keys and says, I'm out of here. I don't want to be in charge of hell anymore. It's your responsibility. And I wasn't expecting that at all, and so it made me want to read more, because I want to be like, what is Dream going to do now that he has control of hell? So really compelling. And then it happens again when Dream finally gives the keys of hell to someone else. I wasn't expecting him to give it to the angels, as I felt that they were just outside observers, but Gaiman writes it so that there's a logical reason for the angels to take control of hell, even if the angels themselves don't necessarily want to do it. And so I applaud Gaiman for subverting my expectations throughout this entire story, and it's why I've continued to read the series, because it's just so good, and it's really top quality. The last thing I want to talk about is just a small issue that I had with this, but Destiny, at the end of the prologue, when Dream decides to go to hell, Destiny remarks to Death that this was preordained, that it has begun. But it's never really specified what has begun, unless Destiny is referring to Dream getting the keys to hell, and then hell becoming the property of heaven or something like that. And that doesn't really seem that significant. So I'm just wondering throughout the story, what is the significant event that is taking place that is going to alter Dream's life forever? And it never really seems to come. The prologue doesn't really seem to serve that big of a purpose, unless this happens in future volumes, in which case, you shouldn't have to read future volumes, I guess. I don't know. It's just a small problem I had, and it doesn't ruin the story, but it does leave me wanting more from this comic book, which I guess is what Gaiman wants after all. But it's still just a problem in my eyes. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Sandman Volume 4, Season of Mist. A really good volume, one of the best. 3 and 4 have been really knocked out of the park, really good. worth reading the entire collection for. I can't wait to read even more, because I'm sure Gaiman has the best is yet to come with Gaiman. If you've read this before and you have something to say, or you want to comment on my review, feel free to comment below. I would love to have a discussion with you and talk more about this wonderful series. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that we can get the Sandman out to the masses and talk more, with other people who may not know about this series or even this book. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and hellish travels. Farewell.